All right, in the last video, I promised you I was going to show you some advanced stuff on the double cross double move ATM. So now, let's do this. All right, don't forget trading is risky, but if trading is for you, this might also be the place for you. Make sure you follow us over here on our Instagram, especially, and of course, Discord here if you want to learn how we earn. Let's get right into the chat here tonight. So we've done double cross double move, advanced level stuff in the last video. This is the follow-up to that. I'm going to show you guys how to edit your ATM for those crosses. So what is an ATM? Automatic Trade Management. Let's get in here. We are going to be focusing over here on the right-hand side of the chart with our kind of what I call our video game controller, where we've got the buttons. These are the buttons that you are going to be pressing all of the time. And one of those things is right down here called the ATM right here. So let's go into this ATM strategy. What is this? Now, some of these out of the box, now I'm going to show you guys my drop down here. I've got probably some extra things that maybe you might not have. Actually, no, this is like my default. So you should have all these in your setup. Again, you can play with these to see which one you like the best. We've got some little fancy ones with auto. Today, I'm going to show you guys how to create a new one here for double cross, double move players. So let's get into one of those. Let me find a setup here and let's start. All right, so the idea here, we've got a pure double cross double move right there, where it's a straight no pullback, no two try rule, again purely entry standpoint. Now some folks have a hard time on the initial stop out, so I'm going to show you guys how to, if you are strictly, this is really for people who are just, if you are like all about the DCDM. I'm talking about not a person who, if you are kind of like me where you're trading all of the strategies together, but if you are really a hardcore focus, we have some folks who just really focus in on 2 or 3 strategies. If you're a double cross double move player, this is for you. I'm talking to you, not for everybody. You don't need to do this. If you are not into the double cross double move that much, you need to have the flexibility so that you can trade J hooks, headshots. Others, you maybe don't want to do this, but for double cross double move players, you're going to want to create an ATM specific for this play entry right here. So again, our default hard stop is what? Pop quiz. 25 ticks. I never want to drop more than that. Why? Because that is the equivalent of a 10 and a 15, right? Can I get a 10 and 15 target? Yeah, sure. I get this all the time. This is on even on a small, I'm going to get that target 1, target 2. So if I take a stop out on one of these, I'm making up for it with a simple T1, T2 play. Not the end of the world, but I'm never wanting to go ever past this. Now, some of you guys who are trolls like, oh, 25 ticks, that's a big stop. Listen, this is hard stop. This is not mental stop. We teach all this in our advanced level strategies, but hard stop for a lot of our ATMs, just out of the box, things that we use. It's kind of like having inside of your kitchen, if you are using the butcher knife, or no, forget the butcher knife, but the chef's knife. The chef's knife can do everything, right? The chef's knife is a nice cut blade to do a lot of things. However, it's not like buying a chop wizard, very specific to an exact thing that you're going to be doing. This is you want the ATM to be broad enough to be able to use everything, and that's kind of your chef's knife, using the big and the small and the tiny, and of course the bigger that we now have for our ATMs. But if you want to get a little fancy, this is like adding in the chop wizard into your kitchen. If you don't know what a chop wizard is, I definitely recommend you go pick one of those up on Amazon. Chop wizard is amazing if you want to chop onions, all that kind of stuff, and put it all in a little container. Amazing, but it's not just a simple blade, it's more complex. So I am going to show you the chop wizard of DCDM. Without further ado, how do you do it? I'm going to go in here, let's start with one. I'm going to drop down, let's maybe start with a small here, and I'm going to edit this one. We go ahead and click on edit right here on my ATM. Edit, that's going to pop up our window here where I can edit the settings of this ATM. So I'm going to edit this one. I'm going to save it as a different name. That's the idea of where we're going here, okay? All right, so the first thing I need to know is let's measure the size of the cross. Now, this is going to be standard across the board. So if you are doing the AlgoBar 3s, you're going to be the exact same as mine. So I'm going to press F6 right here just so we can visually see, where we want to have our stop. So our stop is going to be below, if I'm going long, right? It's going to be below this cross. So what do I need to know is the distance between the middle of the cross and where the stop is. I'm going to zoom in real far here to see where this is located. I want to know the distance between the middle of the cross and the bottom of the cross. Everybody follow that? Okay, so the distance from here to here is what I'm about to measure, because that is what I want my stop to automatically be for my ATM. The idea here is if I press the enter button, I want to be exactly right here, but I also want to give myself a little leeway in case I'm slightly off. A lot of times if you're entering in on this, you might slip a tick. You need to at least give yourself 2 ticks. So remember, it's going to be this distance +1 or +2, I like to kind of default it, and I like to go +2. You'll remember what I'm talking about here in just a moment. Wow, it's a terrible looking 2, but that is supposed to be a 2, okay? +2. So what does that mean? So I want the distance from here to here, and then I want to add +2. So I've already done this here for myself on the 3s. Remember, this is specific to your chart size. Right now, I am on an AlgoBar 3s. So if you're doing this on the 3s, you'll need to adjust this per AlgoBar. If you are a double cross double move player, you know where you're going to be taking your double cross double moves, and make sure that you have set this appropriately if you're going to do this for the ATM, so that it automatically stops you out, so that you are more disciplined. This will force discipline on you, and it will also probably speed up your entries. Two things there, because if you know that that stop is going to come in quickly and pop it in behind you, you need to get as close to that entry as possible. Otherwise, it's going to be off. Like if I'm slow and I enter in up here, right? Okay, if I'm slow, I enter in up here, and my stop is supposed to be down here. This ATM, since it's automatically locked, is going to end up putting your stop up here, right? Is that the right place? No. Is that going to give you enough space? No, but this is going to kind of discipline you to go, okay, get in quickly. So again, one of those things I think it's going to be helpful for double cross double move players to automatically put your first stop right there, especially for those of you who are doing both plays for entry 1 and the 2 try rule. This way, your first stop is always going to be very, very small, and you're not going to be eating up that P&L, okay? So entry 1, what is my distance from here to here? Well, I've already measured this out, and it is about 16 ticks from top to bottom. It's exactly 16 ticks from the center to here on the 3s. So 16 plus 2 is 18. So I want to set this to an 18 tick stop. How do I do that? Right back to our edit button like we talked about before. So now I know what I want to set this to. I'm going to go ahead and drop my stop loss here to 18 for both contracts here, and 18 and 18. My profit targets, I may want to push these out on a double cross double move as well, because oftentimes this is going to be larger. So on a scenario where I've got an 18, this is probably going to be around 32. I'm just going to double the stop size here. Let's put this out. Okay, so I'm going to go on this profit target. I'm going to set this to 30 and 32, and you'll see why here in just a moment, because I want them to have a little bit of space in between each other. I don't want this to be right on top of one another, so I'm going to give it a little bit of space there. 30 and a 32 for my stops. Okay, so this is going to be my entry, and I need to save this now. So I'm going to do save template as, and this one I'm going to do underscore DCDM underscore 3s. Right? And again, you can name it whatever you want, but this is going to indicate to me that if I see that, I know that I created this specifically for the DCDM 3s. So I'm going to hit the drop down, and I'm going to select that now, DCDM 3s. So when I fire off this entry at this spot here, I know that I'm going to be entering in right here. My stops are going to be right down here, and my target's going to be pretty good ways out there, double the distance from this section to this section, which is almost all the time. Again, that's kind of the minimum that we're going to be getting off of a double cross double move. You're usually going to be getting at a minimum the double of whatever that stop is. Again, it's going to be a 2R minimum, but oftentimes that thing can be 4R, it can be 8R. We've seen 10R plays quite often. Again, big plays here on the double cross double moves. So again, that's what I like to have that ATM already maybe set for myself. So there we go, double cross double moves for the 3s. So let's look what that looks like if I go all the way over here to the right. If I go ahead and press buy market, I'm here in my playback scenarios. Oops, I gotta press play. Let me put this down to 2x here and press play, because it's not gonna fill a second order. There we go. All right, so I've got my ATM. If there was a cross right here, which there's not, we'll do this here in a live one here in just a second, but you can see my target's nice and far out there. You'll see that they're also split up. So if I wanna move one by itself, it just kind of gives me that ease. I could have put them right on top of each other. Again, if you prefer them to be on top of each other, that is fine. But if I want to have them split out, it's just kind of easier for myself to have them, because right now, once they're together, I can't split them out unless I go into my little edit settings, and it's kind of a pain. So I don't want to do that most of the time. I like to have them individually in case I want to break my stuff up. Just gives me a little freedom. Or if you don't like that, you just want to have it hard set, up to you how you play that. That's kind of your style. Okay, so let's go look at an example. All right, so I'd like to jump right in on this one. So we're backing up here. We had the blue dot from before. You kind of saw that kind of come in there. Not going to be, it's a little bit too far for a headshot there, but again, power dot coming in, pushing that on up. Look down here though. I want to point this out. You guys, I've showed this oftentimes. This is oftentimes a good indicator of a shifting point if you've got some other plays. I don't want to play this naked, right? I want to just play this by itself. But if you get a strong delta down followed by an up, this is oftentimes a sign of a reversal, and we get that right now. Now we want this one to be either large, it's got to be at least the same size, but it's, you know, even better if it's bigger. Okay, be careful of the scenario where it's not quite as big. It needs to be at least the size of the bigger one. I'm sorry, the one in front. It needs to be at least that big. You can see this is obviously the same size, a little bit larger. It's even bigger than the prior, and you get that flip switch. It needs to be at a location as well. This is a one tick wonder play here as well. So again, my spot here for that opportunity, and if we had a higher time frame, we're probably also getting a divergence play coming in. But this delta, again, very easy visual to see that. You see that right there? Boom, look for those. Go back and back test that. See how many times you see one of these, big setup. Again, can't be small. It needs to be stand out, right? You can't like, let's say like down right there. Is that a flip? No, okay. It's got to be relative to this whole area, right? Back to backs like this is going to be the flip. Means you get them off sides, boom, and it's followed up by a push in the opposite direction of double that. So we've collected all those contracts, and then boom, they're ready to distribute those and start pushing. That was the, that's what that represents there on that push. Okay, nice little play there for that. So not only do we have that, but now we're going to get that double cross. We already know, of course, hindsight being what it is, but let's play here. You could have seen this in real time, seeing that nice little play pushing up here. We're going to get a double cross here any moment. I've got my finger over the buy. Wait for it. I'm running at 2x speed here, so I should be able to put this immediately, because this is the whole point of the DCDM ATM. Boom. All right, pow, pow, pow. And I'm hitting pause. So I should have those pushed out pretty far from myself already. Again, even right now, I have slipped ticks, okay? Again, one of those scenarios where right now, even at 2x, sometimes you are going to slip. This is the plus and the minus of doing this with your ATMs, is that it is going to really push you to get close to your entry. Even right now, I lagged here as I pressed the buy button, even at 2x speed. Look, 2x still, again, very fast here. It's on NASDAQ. We know how that goes. Plus, you've got slippage in there as I'm getting my orders filled from my position. So slippage, and look where my stop is. Is that the proper location? No, I don't really want my stop right there. I really want it to be down here. So some of them got close, but again, be very careful with this. If you're going to be putting this in, maybe give yourself even a little more room if you find yourself behind a lot, but you're going to need to be able to pull these out of the way, because that is, you want them to kind of land right there at the bottom of the cross. You don't want them landing right in your picnic where you're trying to take profits. You don't want to be having to deal with that. So I'm entering into that position. We know that that's a good 30 plus ticks out there. Should be up and out of the way nicely for me. It gives me time to adjust and move my targets around. If you want to put more on the stop, it's fine as long as it's kind of somewhere back here. But if this thing stops out, I want to get out of it quickly. I don't want to be giving up ticks. That's the whole idea. Now, again, I've told you before, enter into your trade first, then do your measurements. So now I come back, I press F8. Going to my entries, there's my targets up there. This is a single scenario, this is a purist, right? And I don't want them all on top of each other. I told you before, don't put them all together. Remember, I told you, cluster them separately. Don't lay them all together. You don't want it to look like a block order sitting there. You want to be just some spread out orders there for the collection of your profits. I've talked about this in another video, so I'm not going to go over that here, but you'll notice I'm not putting them all on top of each other. They are kind of clustered together, but they are not all on a single spot. You see that as I spread it out? They are a tick or so apart from each other. Getting that is important in my opinion. Again, it's parting hairs. If you are trading a virtual account, it won't matter. What is a virtual account? Meaning if you are trading on one of these trader funding programs, it won't matter. You're not showing up on the boards, meaning you're not actually in play. Again, take your pick on that. If you are in a virtual, I would just slap them all together. We'll talk more about that in another video, specifically around trader funding programs, but just wanted to touch that while we're here. Try to cover everything as we go for people who are watching a video that can get all encompassing, and some of this should be review for a lot of you guys. All right, we're at 2x speed. I'm going to speed it up here. I'm going to pump it up to about 10x speed here and see if we can speed this along.
Dow Jones.
Here. But the idea here with our ATM is that I've already got my ATMs pushed up out of the way, got my stops set, because if that did, while this one of course was a pure double cross double move where we just went straight to it, no drawback whatsoever. Oftentimes we'll come back, we'll stop out the first time, we come back in, re-enter. We want to keep those stops very, very tight. So that double cross double move set up for your ATM may be very, very helpful. Here we go, pressing through, we're going to punch in and we're going to hit those targets. For that one, ends up getting a red dot, that's okay. Targets filled right up there, such a beautiful play right there. Just 6 contracts already at $1,000 there, $1,000 play there, just from there to there. We know another one shows up, we can do this again, but what I want to do is now show you. So that's for the threes. So we already know threes equals 18, right? Now we got to check this on other plays, right? Need to play it on the 5s and on the 2s for your others. I'm not going to show you guys all that here, but know that on your 2s, where's your stops going to go? They're going to go down, right? And remember, what's our rule? Whatever the stop value is, okay? If this is our stop, if that stop is going to be 12 ticks, then what's my target? Needs to be 24. Just take that and double it. And again, it's not going to be exact because again, all double cross double moves, you never know, right? But what I want to at least be is this right here, and gives me some place to, if as you start to play these, you will recognize that when you enter into positions, I'm going to go ahead and press play here for just a moment so it'll fill my orders. But as you're getting into plays, you will find yourself having to quickly move your stops and targets. And oftentimes, if the targets are too close, like especially if you're playing in on the 3s or the 2s, I'm sorry, the 3s or 4s or higher, you are going to start to see where that 10 ticks is going to hit so fast, you won't even have time to push your targets out there. And I know you guys have seen that before, right? You're in it, you're like, oh yeah, it's too close, and you're having to do this, click, 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 click to do all that, especially if you've got more orders. That was just with, a set of 4 right there. That gets, disaster, I don't want to say disastrous, but it gets a real pain when the markets are moving quickly and you've got your targets a little bit too close and you're having to move them out super fast. So plays coming in here, waiting for my double cross double move here, and I'm just showing you what's going on with the ATM. As this comes in, okay, I'm going to add to my position here. I know I got my double cross double move. My stop should be right underneath my crosses. Probably going to get stopped out here, right? The stops really need to be at the bottom of those crosses. We don't want to take big losses, right? Want to keep that there. Now I'm pretty heavy here. I went in 12. That was silly of me. We're not going to do that in real world scenarios, but the idea is to keep that stop nice and tight there, up underneath there, so that you keep your losses small, and then your winners are going to be large, right?
Harmonic
Close
pattern.
it.
Dow Jones on the 2s.
I'm getting some lag there. That's okay. Now again, it wouldn't normally be that much here. It was just because I went on that such huge size there on that, and not going to usually happen. But we're going to enter in right there on that entry, re-enter. Right, hopefully my stops are in the right place there for me. Back behind, I've got my targets up above. Let's play this at high speed. We're at 20x. Let's speed it on up there.
Target
and
filled.
We push it.
Hit dot. Dow Jones on the 2s.
Let's see if I get a spot to add.
Target harmonic target.
There we go.
Filled.
Now, of course, as that goes through, what should I have been doing? I needed to measure out. So pressing F8. There to there. There's my targeting. Very cool stuff. Double cross double moves. Set your ATMs. In the next video, I'm going to show you guys how to move your stops and targets easier to thicken those lines so that when you're having to move those quickly, you'll get it. So don't miss out on the next video. I'll catch you in the next one. See ya.
Hit dot. Dow Jones on the 2s. Fib dot. Dow Jones on the 2s.